Wendy has been married to Kevin for 20 years, and they have a teenage son. But what our cameras caught could be a game changer.
He spends half the time with Sharina and the other half the time with Wendy. That is a double life.
And I read about it in the blogs and the tabloids, the address of this place that he had purchased to share with this backwoods bitch.
Welcome to the conclusion of the Wendy Williams series. In part 1, we saw a more humanized side of Wendy as we delved into her childhood, background, and early parts of her career. In part 2, we saw a more controversial side of Wendy as we explored her radio show and 2005 book, The Wendy Williams Experience. In this final installment, we will dive into the drama that has now become her life. Wendy was a polarizing figure in pop culture who was able to achieve great success, but after many years of calling out celebrities and putting their lives on display, Wendy's life is now on display. From addiction to infidelity to health issues and financial woes, Wendy's life has taken a dark turn. This is the unraveling of Wendy Williams.
The 6-week sneak peek means 6 weeks. If we're great, we're back. If we're not, which there's no possibility. How you doing, America? All right.
When Wendy landed her talk show, it was a dream come true. For years, she desired to reach a bigger audience and bring her style of high drama and gossip to TV. The Wendy Williams Show debuted on July 14, 2008, in only 4 cities, but quickly became syndicated by 2009 as it expanded nationally. Thanks to its loyal viewership and Wendy's over-the-top personality, The Wendy Williams Show became an instant hit. Similar to her radio days, Wendy brought gossip, humor, entertainment, and drama to her viewers with her unfiltered commentary. According to Wendy, though she scaled it down a bit, she still brought the heat. Packed with celebrity interviews, hot topics, and special guests, Wendy's show took off and made her a star.
Said you was gonna straighten me out. What the hell was that? I said, smooth you out. Smooth me out. What does that mean?
We're talking, have a nice conversation.
Let's have a conversation. Oh no, I know how to chill, okay, but I will not be disrespected.
Okay. This is not the time for you to look for your moment. I invited you here.
Oh, I know how to find my moment. But just
I understand. We're going to talk about the book.
All right, well, let's get to it, Wendy.
Wendy's show was very entertaining and quickly landed her in the top spot for female daytime talk show host. Similar to her format during her radio days, Wendy confronted celebrities and asked the questions her audience wanted to hear. She weighed in on celebrity news and provided her thoughts and commentary. But much like her time on the radio, Wendy's mouth would get her into hot water.
You know, we talk race here a lot on Wendy, and, I must say to you that, he was on BET, and that his speech was very poignant on one hand. On the other hand, I would be really offended if there was a school that was known as an historically white college. We have historically black colleges. What if there was the National Organization for White People only? There's the NAACP, National. By the way, what is the C? Colored? We're still using colored? Like, I get it. Look, everybody's quiet. Okay? You're leaving me out here to hang to dry by myself.
It's no secret that Wendy was known to be controversial and provocative. That was her formula. That was her brand. And it worked. But being on TV, with millions of people watching, Wendy's behavior was constantly called out. Her critics accused her of being a misogynist, sexist, an elitist, an R-word apologist, and a bully who perpetuates toxicity.
Wendy Williams is under fire yet again for appearing to make a joke about the death of Drew Carey's ex-fiancée, Amy Harwick. Just 2 days after the therapist tragically fell to her death from a third-story apartment's balcony after allegedly being attacked, some have been sharing their outrage of Williams' remarks on her namesake show.
Once the cops got there, she was down there dead on the ground. Yep, was pushed off of a third floor balcony. She was killed not by Drew, but by the ex. Come on down.
Though Wendy has had to dig herself out of controversial situations, there's no denying the success of her show. To be fair, it's important to note that not all of Wendy's content was like this. There were moments on her show where she conducted great interviews, respected her guests, provided entertaining commentary, and rightfully called out problematic celebrities.
But I called that too, right? Back in the day. Bill Cosby, plastic surgery,
R. Kelly.
and everybody's gay. How you doing? Now it's just a friendly greeting to the world. How you doing? That's it.
Dua. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Another element of Wendy's show that fans found endearing was the fact that she would often share very deep and personal information about her own life. These disclosures made Wendy appear relatable, transparent, and vulnerable. In having these very personal conversations with her audience, it created a space for them to bond.
I had a very long radio career, over 20 years. I interviewed Whitney once in 2003. And many of you all recall that interview. Some of the things that Whitney and I have in common that bonded us, the love of our mother and father, Whitney and I, same age, and both plagued with the demon of substance abuse.
Journalist Lena Nazir at TheRiches.com writes, Wendy has managed to connect with her audience by being authentic to her roots and true to herself. Wendy's honest recounts of her own life experiences make it easier for fans to resonate with her on a personal level. Wendy Williams didn't sing or act, but she definitely knew how to relate to her audience by providing brutally honest and sometimes highly controversial commentary on pop culture. She stirred the pot, and in no time at all, she was reaching millions of viewers with each episode. After entering the world of television and throwing herself into the Wendy Williams show, she saw a dramatic increase in her fan base and huge gains within her bank account.
Kevin, as a manager, he was the negotiator. And I was the brains behind the operation because I knew what I should be getting negotiated. I knew how many, what bonuses I need for the day parts I score big in. And I knew, I get more money for the 25 to 54 as I got older in years than I did for the 18 to 34. I got more money for the women than I did the men. Ooh, I got more money because I'm engaging white people in urban radio or TV. Uh-huh. I mean, they would love that. And Kevin didn't know about that. All he knew about is money, 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 and he was good at that.
Wendy had her eyes on the prize and wanted to be a household name. Right beside her was her husband, Kevin, who at that point was her full-time manager and executive producer of the show. Together, Wendy and Kevin were a power couple who were breaking down barriers, cashing checks, and on their way to being multimillionaires. On the surface, all seemed well. Behind closed doors, though, it was a very different story. And the truth would reveal itself when pictures of Kevin and a mystery woman were published.
I'm feeling good. People at my own show call me boss. And me and Kev, I thought were on the same page. But Kevin had gone to LA for business. And I hired a PI. Yes, I did. I hired a PI to follow my husband. And this guy is telling me that Kevin is in Miami with the girl. This is where you show the picture of them on the beach. You know the picture where she's going to the camera and he's laying there on the cell phone like they're chilling like a couple. You understand what I'm saying?
Charlamagne introduced Sharina to Kevin because they are both from South Carolina, and they were at some type of a function, and then he made the introduction, and initially she was attracted to someone else. But, Kevin instantly kind of had his eye zeroed in on her.
Charlamagne didn't introduce Sharina for the purpose of getting that close with Kevin, though. And Kevin, so stupid. What a stupid gorilla. The PI was taking pictures of them going to the gym, going to dinner, her with Gucci, Poochie, and Lucci. And I was Googling, and I'm seeing all, like, the Daily Mail did an excellent job. Like, bloggers were doing a great job. And so, this backwoods Barbie, he was tricking up money. She's in the passenger seat of my Rolls Royce Ferrari. And, I mean, really? Really?
It was September of 2017 when the Daily Mail accused Kevin of living a double life. After a year-long investigation, the Daily Mail exposed Kevin for having a decade-long affair with massage therapist Sharina Hudson. According to the report, Kevin purchased a house for Sharina 9 miles from his marital home. When the Daily Mail broke the story, Wendy's fans were shocked. Though certain celebrities have made comments about Kevin's infidelity in the past, this exposure was now front and center. Wendy's fans would be on pins and needles waiting to hear what she had to say. They wanted to know if the rumors were true. And if they were true, was she going to leave Kevin? On September 26, 2017, Wendy would sit in her purple chair and address her audience.
It's some sort of weird story going around the internet regarding my husband. Now look, I'm a straight shooter, pow pow. All you gotta do is Google him and you see the story. You can believe what you want, but... Okay. I stand by my guy. We commuted this morning. The paparazzi was outside catching me in the cutest negligee. All is well in Hunterville. Don't believe the hype. And if there was hype, believe me, I would let you know.
Wendy and Kevin put on a united front as their marriage became media fodder. Publicly, Wendy continued to deny claims that Kevin was cheating. Privately, however, she knew that wasn't true. Wendy had known for years that Kevin was unfaithful. And according to Wendy, Kevin was a serial cheater.
I had nobody again to talk to, but the times now were even deeper than they ever were in my life. I couldn't call my mom, my dad, my sister. They would have just said, just leave. And I'm like, but I'm still in love. I don't know what to do. Like, are you serious with this? This is really going down. This is going down.
It was you all with the drone and took a picture. And I read about it in the blogs and the tabloids, the address of this place that he had purchased to share with this backwoods bitch, 9 miles from my house in Livingston. And they're living the high life.
She probably knew before the tabloids put it out. As a woman, you, with your husband for X amount of years, you know when they're cheating.
I went to the house, a beautiful house with a 3-car garage.
I was cupping my eyes at every window. Oh, okay, not my house. But this is a good come up for a 32-year-old woman who's been involved with my husband for over 10 years. Pulled out my spray paint. And I spray painted Kevin and Wendy forever. And to this day, it still is forever. Doesn't mean I love you. Not like that. Love don't live here anymore. And I had my Gorilla Glue, which is fabulous. And I glued the mailbox closed with the Gorilla Glue. And I spray painted pink all over it. And I'm just crying and having a good old time in my own head saying, all right, Wendy, you've always been strong. Girl, this is your time. You gotta get this mess together. You got a hit show. You got a beautiful son. What do you do when you find out your marriage is about to be all the way over?
When this information became public knowledge, Wendy was devastated. But she couldn't sit and dwell on it for too long. She had a show that needed to carry on. A month later, during the show's Halloween special, Wendy's health took a turn for the worse when she fainted on live TV.
Our first caress.
I was watching on the monitor and Wendy just dropped out of frame. And it was
really frightening.
I passed out on my own show on Halloween. I didn't want to say to anybody, cut. I knew I could have, but I didn't want to disappoint. Story of my life. Kevin was in the building up in his office. He raced downstairs and he scooped me up like a damsel in distress. And somehow in my stupid mind, when Kevin rescued me, I said, you know what? This is all going to work out. People make mistakes. And Kevin said, baby, I know you can do it. Go back out there and show them what you're made of. Close out the show. I said, I know, right?
We didn't know what was going on. We were worried about her, and it was scary.
People were panicked about me. And although I passed out, I knew there was a bigger situation of the situation. Like, what am I going to do?
Wendy's life was in complete turmoil, and she was struggling to keep it together. In addition to dealing with her marital and health issues, Wendy had problems on set. According to multiple sources, Kevin was a menace and made everyone's life on set a living hell. Several staff members would go on record to say that Kevin was a bully, controlling, and had a terrible temper. To not upset the big boss, many of them avoided him.
Kelvin would run down and criticize something I said and talk loud and flail his arms, and you could see his body language even though the music was going. And Morel would come out, and he, like clockwork, because he knows my face. He's been with me all 12 years and the 6-week sneak peek.
Shout to Morel.
He'd come out with his glue and glue my lashes back on and just, dab, 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 pat me down, make it look like nothing happened, redo my lip gloss. Kevin is screaming at me the whole time.
Damn,
and
man.
Morel knows better, so Morel would just look down and say nothing. Morel wouldn't cry. I know Morel thought that I was still a beaten woman and that's the way that was. He would come inside and he would critique Morel's makeup. Why so much eyelash? Why is it so heavy up here? We don't need the smoky eye so smoky. Why is Wendy's hair so dark? I like that wig. He would compliment and destroy Morel at the same time. Why are you talking to the crew? You know where the crew table is, my camera people and Ellie. And I'd go out there. I walk around here in a robe. I find nothing to be wrong with that. And I tease you with my giggles and my laughter, and we share food and we're family. And Kevin would quickly tell me to go back into my office. These people don't care about me. And what were you talking to my wife about? And they'd be scared to say anything other than, well, sir, we were talking about he made a meatloaf, and Wendy likes meatloaf, and all right, don't bring her in no food. He wasn't calling me fat. What he was calling me is better than eating crew food, better than talking to crew, better than talking to my DJ. He'll give you the selection.
Kevin's behavior on set really concerned Wendy's staff and crew. Many of them thought that she was a battered woman. According to Wendy, Kevin never put his hands on her, but he was mentally and emotionally abusive. The facade that Wendy and Kevin created over the years was beginning to crumble.
I remember the day I was having a meeting with, some of my producers in my office. And if you've ever seen my office on the after show, it's beautiful and it's cluttered and it's full of really good glamorous stuff. And I really enjoy it in there. And so we're meeting, and Kev normally didn't like me to start the producers' meetings until he got there, and he'd be very emphatic about that. But he was like 20 minutes late, and finally I said, let's start now. We got to get the show started on time. I don't know where Kev is. He wasn't answering his phone. Like, Kev doesn't... So we're going over hot topics and the segments of the show, and Kev comes in the office and has a bag from the jewelers, another watch. So I'm like, okay, this is really nice, but can you sit down so we can get to this meeting? Thank you very much for that. He smacked it down on the table in front of everybody and fractured my table. I had to literally order a whole new panel. I have witnesses to that. As if I wasn't celebrating him walking in late and giving me a Rolex watch. I have Rolex taxes. I have everything. I don't need more. Stuff is stuff. We've been given an opportunity. We got over 100 people relying on us.
In February of 2018, Wendy announced to her audience that she was suffering from Graves' disease. According to the National Institute of Health, Graves' disease is an autoimmune disorder of the thyroid. On top of Wendy dealing with health issues, marital issues, and a toxic work environment, she still had to show up to work with a smile on her face, ready to talk about the latest Hollywood story.
Tom didn't give it to you bad.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Well,
I don't like talking about husbands, right, Wendy?
Well, I don't mind talking about husbands. I don't mind. He's fabulous. Okay.
As Wendy continued to work, Kevin continued his relationship with Sharina, and the two would frequently be caught by paparazzi. It appeared as though Kevin had no regard for his wife's emotional, mental, and physical health. To the public, he was callous.
Well,
So crazy.
And then one day he was there, low, taking pictures because I need receipts. PI cost a lot of money, and he was with her, and they were walking like a loving couple. He opened the door to my Rolls Royce that he drives his son and his wife around. We pull up to the outside of our office. The Wendy line is up the block. People are screaming, Wendy, Wendy. And just yesterday, I know that she was in this car. And I just had to, and I know Morel wanted to say stuff. He'd be the one to have to, cover the pain that crying makes.
Yeah.
And that, sleeping on your side because you don't want to face him makes. And, I have a 25-year-old spirit, but I have the soul sometimes of a 90-year-old and the wisdom of somebody who could definitely work on Wall Street. And that was very painful to play loving, holding hands in that same rotten Rolls Royce or Ferrari or Bentley or, our car game.
Yeah.
His sneaker room, the closets, the ding dongs on the phones. He was getting more ding dongs than I was. And I was the woman of the house. Clothes were coming in from every place. He's buying them. I get mine for free because I got a show. And you know what? I saw the jealousy and I knew what I had to do.
In December of that same year, Wendy would surprise her audience when she showed up in a sling and announced that she had fractured her shoulder. She said, "I did it on Sunday. By Monday morning, my shoulder was on fire. There's no way I could have done yesterday's show. I was all about the medical care yesterday, from one doctor to the other. I'm on the mend. I don't need an operation and just need to rest." It must be noted that the Daily Mail would allege that Wendy's injury was sustained due to an altercation with Kevin. Fans were concerned with Wendy's health, but they would be even more concerned when just a few days later, she showed up to host her show like this.
Okay. And I insist that you knock on the door and act a fool. Like, who are you? Where's Danielle? And then maybe sucker punches you in the face and yokes up in the corner. Two old men fighting, but not really fighting. No one wants to break anything. And the understanding is that, Maureen, you're not going to get her back. Alan doesn't want her. This is all for plot line. Danielle is smart. She knows the score.
Wendy's appearance and behavior created a lot of chatter. Some speculated that it was potential drug use and that she had relapsed. To quiet the chatter, Wendy took to social media to clear up the rumors. She wrote, "I sincerely apologize if you feel that today's show was less than stellar. I'm on your TV screens every day, wanting to spread laughter, entertainment, and cheer. I have a hairline fracture on my upper arm, which hurts like hell. I've never broken a bone or experienced a fracture in my life. I've never taken pain medication in my life until this week. I did that to power through and tried to deliver a great show for you, against the better judgment of the many people around me who genuinely care for my well-being. I really do ride or die for my craft and give 200%. Needless to say, whatever today's performance was, I have no regrets, and I appreciate everyone's genuine concern for my wellness and care. I promise you a better Wendy in 2019. Wendy's show would take a 2-week break for the holidays, with plans to resume filming after the new year. But when the new year came, Wendy announced she would be going on hiatus for health reasons. That's what she told the public. And it was true to a certain extent. But there was more to the story. At that time, Wendy found out that Kevin's mistress was pregnant and due to give birth in the upcoming months. Knowing that this would break her, Wendy claims that she decided to enter into a health facility where she could be isolated and cut off from the world. Her drinking was out of control and she needed help. So Wendy went to rehab.
In November, a black Porsche drove in my driveway to do a K-turn. It slowed down and just so happens I was home. And I was at a particular window where I could see. It was a woman who was with a burgeoning belly. And I could see that because the way our house is pitched, it's on a little bit of a hill. And this person, her, was taking pictures of our home. And I, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying this. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And she backs out. She reverses the car to go back to where she came from. At that point, I can't believe what my life is about to turn into. So what do? When you've had a stellar career, you come from a fine family. When your beautiful gift from God is away in Miami at college, you open the wine. Rock back and forth, you watch TV, you sit and think, you don't get on the phone. I don't want anything interrupting my thought pattern. I'm just waiting for him to come home. I'll wait. Like 6 hours later, I'll be 2 bottles in. By myself. That's right now. What would you do? He comes home. And I went ham. And he tried to deny. And I went hammer. And then opened another bottle of wine. And I went ham-ish. And I had no reason to lower my voice or not rock my neck. Because my son's away in college. There's nobody there for me to, try to shelter my voice from. This is a culmination of everything. Everything. And, I am like screaming like a raving lunatic. And what would you do? What would you do? There was nobody for me to call for a second opinion. There was nobody to call.
Wendy returned to her show on March 4th, 2019, and would explain to her audience why she took an extended break. She said the following: "Honestly, I didn't know what to expect when I hit the block today. What had happened was, we were only supposed to be off 2 weeks for Christmas vacation. At the end of those weeks, I started to feel thyroidish. They adjusted my meds. If you don't know about thyroid disease, it's a lifelong thing, and they are always adjusting stuff. It can really screw you over. I'm at home and I'm taking my thyroid meds and I'm meditating. I'm going to the gym 7 days a week for 2 hours a day. I want to shout out to my husband. I'm still wearing my ring. Believe me, when you've been with somebody for 28 years, married for 25, we know each other. He's my best friend. He's my lover. Marriages have ebbs and flows. It isn't easy. And don't ask me about mine until you see this gone. And it ain't going anywhere. Not in this lifetime."
I want to shout out to my husband. I'm still wearing my ring. He's my best friend. He's my lover. He's all this and he's all that. I know what you've been seeing, and I knew what the streets have been talking about. Marriages have ebbs and flows. Marriages are not easy. And don't ask me about mine until you see this gone. And it ain't going anywhere. Not in this lifetime.
When Wendy returned to her show, she picked up right where she left off. But on March 19th, Wendy would make an emotional announcement that shocked many. She would inform her audience that for the past 3 months, She had been residing in a sober living facility.
For some time now, and even today and beyond, I have been living in a sober house. When you see me come to work, glammed up, right after the show, I go across the street, I do my Pilates. I told you 2 hours a day, I like to take care of my body. And you know I've had a struggle with pain in my past, and I never went to a place to get the treatment. I don't know how, except God was sitting on my shoulder and I just stopped. I am driven by my 24-hour sober coach back to a home that I live in here in the in the tri-state with a bunch of smelly boys who've become my family. Doors locked by 10 p.m. Lights out by 10 p.m. So I go to my room and I stare at the ceiling and I fall asleep to wake up to come back here to see you.
When Wendy disclosed this information to the world, she received an overwhelming amount of support. People were rooting for her on her road to recovery. But a week later, reports would come out that Kevin and Sharina secretly welcomed a baby girl. Everything that Wendy had denied in order to protect her marriage and her husband was now out in the open. There was no more denying it. And according to multiple sources, upon this news, Wendy went into a downward spiral. On March 26, 2019, Wendy checked herself out of the sober living house and relapsed. A source told the Daily Mail the following, quote, "She was in a bad way and disappeared from the studio after her show on Monday. She went back to the sober house only to check herself out and decided to start drinking. Word got back to the studio, and there was panic and concern. Everyone was looking for her. No one knew whether there would be a show today. She was eventually found and was drunk. She was immediately taken to the hospital." Wendy was absolutely struggling in her personal life, and it began to affect her career. It began to affect everything she worked so hard for. The show would take another hiatus from April 1st to April 8th so that Wendy could get herself together. After dodging questions regarding her marriage, Wendy showed up to set on April 11th, 2019, without her ring. She had filed for divorce and fired Kevin that same day.
Well, first and foremost, like I said, personally, what we were going through behind the scenes was a lot. I mean, I take accountability for my actions, for what's obviously out there. But what we was going through when it comes to our health issues and whatnot, it was a lot. And it was solely on me from a personal standpoint of that being my wife at the time. Now, the show was very aware of all things. And now it's obvious that they had no real compassion for the person that was really, pioneering. I feel like when everything was coming to a head with us personally, that they could have took a different approach at trying to salvage the situation. They always looked at me as like a enemy, and when the opportunity came through my own actions, instead of them pulling us into two separate rooms and saying, "All right, look, we know what y'all going through. We know that obviously they're concerned about Wendy and how she's feeling, and I can understand as a woman, she probably was like, F that dude, I get it." But what was working was for a reason. So I think it was their job to put us in separate rooms and say, "Listen, we need to make this work. We need, Kevin is still a respected producer, like the other executive producer we had there, the showrunner. And I wasn't just there in name only. Like most men, I want to say that's with a strong woman and they're a strong alpha male, you get mad and then you get to a point of some type of understanding. Me and her didn't get a chance to do that because so many people got in the middle of that. I feel like they didn't realize that even though maybe we would have been destined for divorce or what have you, that we still had the room to still work with each other through throughout it. And they did not want that. They didn't give us the opportunity to do that. They constantly stayed influencing in her ear, while again, she's very vulnerable. And it was sad.
Wendy and Kevin's divorce would be finalized by January of 2020. With the bad seed now out of her life, many thought that much of Wendy's troubles would disappear. Unfortunately, however, her life plummeted in 2020. The media labels this year as the year that Wendy was at death's door. Page 6 wrote the following, quote, Wendy Williams was at death's door and ultimately hospitalized for 2 blood transfusions due to worsening alcohol addiction. In May, friends discovered catatonic Williams at her New York City apartment, where her former manager, Bernie, allegedly refused to call 911 out of fear it would become public knowledge. A longtime friend told the outlet the following, quote, I don't think he understood the extent of what was going on, and I don't think he wanted it to get out there that she was not well, and he definitely didn't want to call 911. It was pretty much a mess. It was a mess. She was in a robe. It was soiled. She was catatonic. She was in a very bad state. She was looking at the ceiling. She was just non-responsive, but her eyes were open, but she was definitely in a catatonic state. We discovered a case of alcohol, open wine bottles, and Kettle One. We started clearing out a lot of liquor. She's going to die. She literally couldn't stand up. She was just lying on top of the covers, and she needed 911 help. And Bernie's like, we're not getting help. According to page 6, Kevin, Wendy's ex-husband, was called for assistance.
One of the times that I had to save her life was during COVID, when her then manager at the time sat in the same apartment that she's at, and they was going to let her die. And, if it wasn't for DJ Booth, if it wasn't for, at the time, a realtor that was helping us sell our marital property, who I befriended, I think it was President's Day weekend 2020 or 2020, I forget. But if it wasn't for them, Wendy would not be here today. They alerted me on her condition. My son, who at the time was the healthcare proxy, and I still had a relationship with the sober coaches that was helping me around the clock with her behind the scenes when nobody knew, to help get things straight. And I got the call, and this is during the time where I was getting killed on the air. I was getting killed in the press, and I got the call. And I asked DJ Booth at the time, I said, Booth, why you calling me? He said, Kev, I don't know nobody else to call. I said, all right. Jumped into action. And the man that was there, Bernie Young, he sat there, and this is public knowledge. It was put in the papers in New York already, but people haven't really grasped around it. He sat in another room. Another black man sat in another room, knowing that this woman was in dire straits, like dire. I'm ashamed to say that the condition she was actually in, but I was able to get people up there in that apartment, force our way in there. I wasn't there, and get her to the hospital where, they had to perform 2 blood transfusions to, make sure she's good. When you with somebody half your life,
yeah,
you don't just. Now, I am on to a new relationship, and I have started a new family, yes. And I know that makes a lot of people mad because they've seen the evolution. But when it comes to her and what we shared, my son's mother, I don't have no hate. Nobody put as much into it, into the game, as I did, behind, not just the purple chair, behind her, period.
Kevin has stated in several interviews that he saved Wendy's life. According to him, he saved her life on more than one occasion. Kevin gives himself a lot of credit when it comes to the career and success of Wendy Williams. He calls himself the king behind the purple chair. In 2021, Wendy was set to release her biopic and documentary, which detailed the highs and lows of her life and career. But a month before the premiere, Wendy's mother died.
Mrs. Hunter. And so I said, Yes. Yes, I'm Shirley's daughter, Wendy. My sister Wanda talks to you more. Yes. It's Miss Hunter, by the way. And he said, we tried. We tried. We tried.
That's a hard call to get. It's a hard moment.
Yeah. And I still came to work. I came to work. I didn't say anything to anyone here.
So I think I kept that inside.
I think I might have told my manager, Bernie. Maybe even I waited to tell him. I kept it inside for a bit of time.
That's hard.
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, no, I hear that, but did you have a moment for yourself?
Yeah, I have moments for myself all the time. How many times do I have to tell you I'm divorced? I live by myself.
Wendy had been through so much in the last couple of years, and her mother's death was a huge blow. When Wendy's biopic and documentary premiered, they gave the public deeper insight into her controversial life. To help promote these projects, Wendy would do several interviews. In one particular interview, she divulged information about a married man.
The only thing I did, I smoked a blunt with with Method Man, while I gave him a bath, and it was a one-night stand. And
what?
And he'll deny it, maybe not.
That wasn't in the movie.
It wasn't in the movie. It wasn't in the movie because Method Man is still very angry at me.
For what?
I don't know, for being me, for telling the truth. It was one night we were in the club, a fight broke out and gunshots broke out. The fight was ridiculous. The whole Wu-Tang was there, but it was only meth up in the rafters. And see, that's where I'd go to observe everything because I was by myself. And I said to him, I guess I batted my eyes and, rocked my shoulders. You know how you do.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, you want to come over? And he said, yeah, I'll follow you. And I said, give me your hand. And I grabbed his hand and he put his head down and I put my head down, and people didn't even realize at the time it was Wendy. And one of the biggest stars, the leader of the biggest group in the world, just left, got in her Pathfinder and went back to her penthouse in Jersey City, where she bathed him in her jacuzzi tub.
Wow.
And smoked more weed. That was back in the Coke days. I don't remember what he did. I'm not going to implicate him on that. I did give.
I don't know if I'm asking too much, but did you guys go all the way?
Yes.
Method Man's wife, Tamika Smith, would speak out and comment on Wendy's allegations. She shared the following message on social media. I will read her complete message. Quote, "For years, I kept my silence while Wendy Williams launched constant verbal attacks against my husband, myself, and our family. In the past, I ignored her lies, innuendos, and blatant attempts to provoke us. But Wendy has proven again and again that she is incapable of any decency. Her obsession with our lives has reached a new low, and I'm tired of taking the high road." In an obvious attempt to increase ratings for her sad biopic, her struggling TV show, and her burnt-out career, Wendy has once again targeted my husband. It's a pattern that she has repeated for years. When I was diagnosed with cancer years ago, Wendy shared my personal medical information with her listeners, live on the air during her radio broadcast. She didn't care that she was violating my right to privacy, or that I hadn't shared the news of my diagnosis with my family and friends yet. She never apologized, never expressed any regret whatsoever. Despite my anger, I chose not to respond publicly to her unhealthy fixation with my husband and our marriage. It was clear that she was sick and that she was struggling with a lot of issues, including self-hate and low self-esteem. Over the years, those issues have made her increasingly ugly, both inside and out. And no amount of plastic surgery can fix the ugliness inside of her. Instead of using her platform to uplift women, she has spent her career attacking marriages while her own fell apart. She criticized celebrities battling addictions despite her own struggles with substance abuse. There's no limit to how low she will go in the name of making headlines. Her career is on life support. Her husband has abandoned her, and the ratings for all of her projects are down. She's desperate for attention and is using my husband's popularity as a way to get her name trending. How sad that a woman who was once revered in the entertainment industry has reduced herself to a tabloid side note and a circus freak. For the record, my marriage is solid. My husband continues to enjoy a successful career, and Wendy will forever be one of the most miserable bees on the planet. Tamika Smith wouldn't be the first woman who shot back at Wendy Williams. Several women called Wendy out for her comments about their marriages, their bodies, their SA experiences, and their children, to name a few. But after Tamika's response, Wendy would move on and no longer comment on the situation. It seemed as though Wendy was ready to put the past behind her and move forward towards healing and a healthier life. Unfortunately, though, things would get even darker. In September of that year, she would relapse again and be taken to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. Wendy was still grieving the loss of her mother, still healing from a broken heart, battling Graves' disease, lymphedema, and recovering from a breakthrough case of COVID-19. All of these factors, her brother said, contributed to her relapse. Upon Wendy's release from the hospital, her bank froze her assets and locked her out of her own account. It was early 2022 when Wendy's then financial advisor, Lori Schiller, claimed that Wendy was not of sound mind, which led to Wells Fargo blocking access to her accounts in mid-January, according to the Daily Mail. Wendy had since stepped down from her show back in July of 2021 for health-related issues. Since her departure, the problems seemed to pile on. Frustrated with the state of her financial affairs, Wendy would make a video calling out Wells Fargo and her team.
And when I began asking questions about my money, suddenly Lori Schiller has got no response regarding my money. I want my money. This is not fair. And Wells Fargo has no questions and answers with regarding my money. This is not fair. And Lori Schiller and Wells Fargo have this guardianship petition about keeping me away from my money. This is not right. And you know this is not fair. And this guy named Bernie Young, I know for a fact that Bernie Young used my American Express card to hire an attorney to file a petition against me. That was done with my American Express card. Bernie Young, you're no good, and this is not fair at all.
After firing her manager, crisis manager, and financial advisor, Wendy hired a new team that could help her fight back against the bank. But by May of 2022, Wendy was placed under temporary financial guardianship. In addition to Wendy's financial troubles, she would also receive news that her much-loved talk show would not be renewed for another season. 2022 would be its last year. The final episode of The Wendy Williams Show aired on June 17, 2022. 6 days later, Wendy did an interview with TMZ that concerned many.
You know I have lymphedema. You know what that is, correct?
I know.
Okay. You don't know lymphedema? All right. I'll show you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Lymphedema is this. Do you see this right here? Look.
Okay.
No, look closely.
Right.
Hold up, please. Look, hold up. I can't hold it higher. Do you see?
Yep, we can see. Yeah.
Okay, do you see this?
Yes.
All right, it's up and down. Okay. I am 100% retired
in the Wendy Williams show. And I don't want to be on TV except for guest hosting. Like I love Whoopi Goldberg. I love The View.
2 months after Wendy's TMZ interview, she would go back to rehab, as sources close to her told Daily Mail the following, quote, "Her substance abuse issues have gotten worse, as she went from drinking wine to straight-up vodka." Wendy's stint in rehab lasted about a month. By October, she had checked out. With her health in a drastic decline, her temporary financial guardianship was made permanent. Wendy's financial troubles not only affected her, but it would also affect her ex-husband, Kevin, who started making his rounds, doing interviews and speaking about his current state. Rumors were going around saying that he and Sharina were broke and had spent all the money he got from the divorce. Reports would also come out stating that Wendy only had $2 in her bank account. Here's what Kevin and his financial advisor had to say.
First thing I want to clarify is that it is not an alimony. They agreed to a severance, basically Wendy buying him out of his share of the business. That amount of money, like I said, was far less than what he would have been entitled to had the math been done, which is what I do. Once that agreement was done, the mistake that I will say that Kelvin was advised to do was accept the payments monthly. Why did he do that? He can explain, but mainly he was being a good guy and not wanting to upset the financial picture of Wendy. He agreed to take payments monthly. My job is to figure out what you're entitled to. Is then your job to figure out what you're willing to accept.
Right.
The problem I have is that Mr. Hunter was never given the opportunity to
figure out
know
what
exactly what he was entitled to.
Right.
Okay. Now, he's going to have the opportunity to see coming forward, because now that they have stopped the money, and that's never been done before that I know of, where the bank actually takes it upon themselves to stop paying, or the financial advisor stops paying an agreed upon amount of money in a marital settlement agreement. So that's unusual. Why did they do that? I've never seen a bank fight this hard to keep a person from getting access to the records. If they're saying Wendy's broke now, our perspective is show us the documentation that shows that this money that was there at the time of divorce, that clearly was enough to pay all of what was agreed to, where is it now? Show us the money, show us where it is. Who goes to mediation and somebody says, this is what's owed, which is what we let them know. This is what's owed. Their perspective was, well, there's nothing left. That's not a mediation. So my question was, you're saying that he should just walk away and say that because you say there's no money, that there is none? Show me the bank records. There's 22 accounts.
After years of going back and forth to rehab, struggling with health issues, legal battles, and her talk show being canceled, Wendy expressed to the public that it was time for her to get back to work with her much-anticipated podcast in 2023. But in March of this year, Wendy would be caught in a drunken state, which would ultimately cost her the launch of her podcast. Due to health concerns, production for Wendy's podcast was put on hold, and rumors began swirling that it was canceled.
Wendy Williams' rep is clearing the air. The 58-year-old TV personality's rep, Sean Zanotti, claims to Access Hollywood in a statement that Wendy is still continuing with her podcast, despite rumors that it may have been canceled, saying, quote, "We are still working behind the scenes on several projects. There has been no official cancellation of the podcast. It is unfortunate that the credibility of storytelling is performed without vetting sources, and seasoned writers report on hearsay as fact rather than checking facts for truth before publishing a story." Sean also revealed if Wendy would ever return to television, adding, quote, "Wendy has a desire to return to TV, but it's been no cancellation of the podcast."
The postponement of Wendy's podcast saddened her fans, as many anticipated her return to media entertainment. The current state of Wendy's life and career has prompted several outlets to weigh in and theorize on what has happened to the self-dubbed Queen of All Media. Some say that Wendy is a legend who bravely called out problematic celebrities, kept it real, and was a voice for the people. Others say that Wendy was nothing more than a bully who is now getting her karma for all the years she terrorized people. Wendy Williams is a polarizing public figure in pop culture. She's had some highs and some lows. She's broken barriers and made enemies along the way. She's called out problematic celebrities and has been problematic herself. But at the end of the day, Wendy says that she regrets nothing.
Hi, I'm Sharon, and I just want to know, after this experience of yours with the troubled times, Life Exposed, the tabloids, and paparazzi following you, how do you think this has changed how you will approach or handle someone who's going through troubled times? Has it changed how you will expose, talk to, or handle someone now that you've had this personal experience?
Yeah, I've got patience for Angela. It's changed me in a rougher way, not a nicer way, because I was already nice. I am more compassionate to people, but I'm also most compassionate about myself and my son.
Okay.
So if you expect a nicer Wendy, you ain't got that.
Just
Wendy
the
was
opposite.
already nice. Wendy was already nice. I really don't have time for your bullshit. You know, you got yourself in this situation, get yourself out.
We're going to talk about it no matter what, and even if it... Okay.
Please.
Okay.
How am I going to pay my bill? You mean it's Hot Topics going to solve it?
Yes.
No.
They're going to be warm topics.
No.
Huh? Lukewarm topics?
No.
No?
Hot Topics are still the same Hot Topics.